Well, hello, and welcome to Stop Let's Team Up, episode 102. What am I reading? I don't forget which one am I reading this is. I think it's the third or the fourth one. It doesn't really matter. It'll be in the header when I post this. There are two things I really want to talk about because I've been jumping around in trades, reading stuff for the podcast, Starman, FF with Kirby, Secret Six is coming out in hardcover. It's on the way. I've ordered some new Omnis. Work's been crazy, so I've only been able to really get an episode out a week. So what I kind of have been doing is playing catch-up reading. And I've caught up on two things. One, I've been complaining about Jed McKay's Avengers run for the first 7 months it was coming out. I've had a change of heart because I decided that I was at issue 7, which started Twilight Dreaming, and I'd read it, and I didn't remember it, but I had 8 through, plus Blood Hunt, Free Comic Day, Blood Hunt 1, Avenger 14, and then Blood Hunt 2 came out too. So I read all of that in a row. I liked it a hell of a lot more than I did the initial arc. I found the initial arc, nothing really happened. The pacing was incredibly off to me. I know it's a visual medium. I know you want big action pieces. But I felt there was nothing really going on that needed 6 issues to tell it. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that at all. Because the first issue was really interesting, putting this team together. It's not a lineup I like. I'm not saying it's a bad lineup. I am just bored with a lot of these characters being in it. I love Carol Danvers. I love all these characters, but the only two I was really excited to see in the book were Vision and Scarlet Witch as full-time members. The others, they've been here for so long in this latest decade or two. It's time to shake it up. You got to shake it up. Shake the tree. Let's have a new lineup. A drastically new lineup. That said, this is a good... McKay's working with it. And I will say, with the second arc, I'm really digging this book. So, kind of, let me pull up where I was in the end. And I just kind of want... So, I read 1 through 6, and it was that one arc. It really started to change with 7, which is the start of the Twilight Dreaming story arc. So... The first 6 issues tell... they actually spin out of Avengers Assemble Omega, which was the end of the Jason Aaron's run, which the last year worth went between the two books, the regular Avenger book and his multiverse Avenger book, Avengers Assemble. Avengers Forever, excuse me. Which was okay. I liked the Aaron run. It had good sections and bad sections. Overall, it was really... I thought it worked. I had things that I liked, some arcs that I liked more. I thought the ending was a little long. Like, everybody's doing the big, epic Avengers. Again, that's something like, we've had it a bunch. Busiek did it to a point. Hickman did it masterfully. Aaron did it pretty good. I just would like to see more traditional Avenger book. Like Kurt Busiek was saying on Twitter, he said something about he likes it best when there's workplace conversation. Like, the big guns aren't in it. Kinda. That's the way I take that as. And you have characters that you can have talk around who have something going on in their lives. And there's a change in that. But it starts with the, Timeless #1 from 2022 was next, which is Kang, because Kang actually shows up at the end of the first issue and says he needs help, which I think's been done. I mean, they were leaning into Kang before all the troubles with Jonathan Majors. And now they're kind of backing away and making Doom the big bad, which is, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Kang gets a little overused sometimes with the Avengers, but he shows up and there is the Ashen. Is it Ashen? Let me make sure I'm reading this right. Ashen combine with the Idol Alabaster, City Smith, Lord Enu, the Dead, Meridian Diadem, and Impossible City. So the Avengers fight these bad guys, and they live on a floating city in space that is sentient, called the Impossible City. And for the first 6 issues, they had this big drawn-out battle. They've all split up with their own kind of bad guys teamed with each. I'm not going into the detail. They battle, they fight, they win. The Impossible City takes sides with them, and then the Impossible City joins the Avengers. It's 6 issues. It's almost all fight sequence. I'm not a child of the 80s. I am a child. Well, I was in high school in the 80s, but 80s and early 90s, there was a change in storytelling, which was very artist-centric, penciler-centric. I'm going to say that. The artist. Writers are artists too, but the person who, the penciler or pencil inkler, whatever, the person drawing the book, who is 50% of any comic book. They should be a partnership. They should both they should work together if they can, because sometimes those dynamics are bad. It should always be co-plotted by them. I think it should be a collaborative thing. But I want some drama in my comics. And drama does not come from punching stuff, in my opinion. Drama comes from why the heroes are going through whatever journey the authors are putting them through. Are they building themselves up? Or are they being torn down to build themselves up? What is happening to the heroes and the action? They're a reason that characters become popular and stand alone. They have kind of a personality, and when you go off of and personality sometimes has to come from a conversation between characters. I've said this before over and over again. Thought balloons, you got to know what the character's thinking. I'm sorry, not every comic book artist, I can't read an emotion on a drawing's face. I kind of need a little help. I know some people don't want a lot of soap opera or a lot of messaging, but stories have messages, whether it's, hey, love you, be nice to your wife, don't be cruel to animals, or don't be a racist piece of shit. There's always a message in something. The author is always trying to tell you something, as well as a good story. But a good story doesn't have heart and doesn't have struggle or confrontation or anything like that. It's no good. So those first 6 issues really didn't sit with me. If I picked up that trade, I could read it in probably an hour, and I would be entertained. And I think I want to go back and reread those issues because I want to give it a second chance. I haven't done it yet because I just read 8 through 14 plus the Blood Hunt Free Comic Day and Blood Hunt 1 and 2. So why did I like the second story better? Because number one, the Vision tries to crack a joke. Nightmare has come and is torturing 6 of the counting how many 6 of the 7 members, with them being in a battle and losing. The problem is that's a nightmare. Vision is the only one free. And we're dealing with some characters that are introduced in 1. Take these versions of the Knights of the Round Table, which is cool because I like Arthurian stuff. I like that stuff. I think it's neat. They're a group of heroes in their own right. They came in timeless. They're in Mydrin, which is, I guess, Merlin, has attacked Kang in the flagship of his fleet, Prospero, and then when confronted by the Twilight Court, Kang destroys the ship and is teleported away. The Twilight Court follows him across time and tribulation, through the tribulation events. So these events are going to happen to the Avengers over McKay's run. It's his thing. So McKay set this up where we have the 7 heroes of the Avengers have something that why Captain Marvel's picked them for the team. She is the star. Falcon is the icon. He's not Falcon, sorry. Captain America, he's the icon. Scarlet Witch, the witch. The construct is Vision. The god is Thor. The engineer is Iron Man. The king is Black Panther. So Murdrin's created 7 heroes, and they all match those icons in different ways. Basically, there is Lancelot, the star, Mordred, the witch, Arthur, the king, Berserk, the construct, Gahalt the God. Also introduced through the story is Percival, who is supposed to be Percival. He's the icon, as in Captain America. And then there's Bedivere, who is the engineer, the match for Iron Man. So they have so it's a great arc. CF Villa's art, I think some issues I really like. Like in 8, it was rough for me. It was rough for me for the secondary characters because I didn't really remember them that much from Timeless. It's a very... I'm getting used to it, but I think it felt rushed to me. But I think I really liked Francisco Morarino. I liked his art a lot. He did 8. He did 9, and then Villa was back for 10. And I thought it was a little bit better. It's just I got to get used to it. I liked his Nightmare. I like was going. And then 11 was another artist, Ivan Florian, who I really like. I really, really like it. And this is 11 is it's oh my goodness. This is a throwback. One, there's a conversation about the X-Men falling where we find out that Tony's been telling them to wait. Tony's been a big part of that X-Men story. I've not read it. I've just read bits and pieces, and I read the Uncanny Avengers because I like that lineup. We're going to get to that. But basically, it's Jarvis is now going to be in charge of running the city, and he's brought up Mr. Sweeney, his assistant, who we all should know, if you're as old as me, that he was someone who, back in Avengers 201, got in a fight with Jarvis and got his ass handed to him by Jarvis, and now is trying to do better. But there's a big battle with these plastic androids sent by the Thinker to attack the city. And it just ends up, it's a good one and done story. It's a good one and done story. I really like that. That was nice to see. And then we get issues 12 and 13, which is Mortarino, which is, it's a 2 issues where the Avengers go against Orcus to, fight for the Avenger, fight for the X-Men, which I liked it. And it brought back the new 3D man, who had been Triathlon, who's a weird character. He never really landed with me. It's great George Perez design, and Busiek and him did okay. I like it when he became 3D man, and he seems to be the bad guy. And this is spoilers, so stop if you haven't read it and skip it, but go ahead. He ends up good in the end, but he's basically been purposely brainwashed to forget it and do all these things on purpose to screw up MODOK's plan, because MODOK's working on Orcus, and when you find out he's just a deep undercover plant. He wears the traditional 3D man costume with an Orcus jacket over top of it, but he disappears at the end of the story. It's like, you could have stuck around. Come on, man. Take some lessons from Roy and Chris Claremont and Kurt Busiek and stuff. Bring someone new in or bring someone back and just have them hang around. But it was nice. I like that 2-part. I'm going to go back and read most of the Krakoa era, but probably after I retire and I have all the time in the world. And then we get to Blood Hunt, which has... I'm only getting the Blood Hunt and the Avengers stuff. The first 2 issues, the prequel, and the first issue were good. One arc I liked in Aaron's run was Dracula taking over Chernobyl and the sheriff. Blade as an Avenger is always iffy. It works in a story I like it. It doesn't work when it doesn't. But I will say this. Pepe Larraz and Marta Gracia is art. Is fantacular in Blood Hunt 1. Sarah Pacelli, who's done a lot of art, who I love. Her Dracula is awesome. I like the modern thing. And then we get, and Larraz and Garcia are the artists on Blood Hunt. What I do like is, since something's going on, since in the Blood Hunt you're seeing the main Avengers, the current lineup, in the main driver of that action. So in the Avengers book, we're going to get Cap has put together a team to help. And this, what does he call it? It starts with this announcement, and I'm going to read this because this is going to lead into a new Avenger book. This is an Avengers priority alert. Avengers chair Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, has tasked me with putting out the call for more Avengers. If you receive this message, it means that I need you to step up. Identicard tracking will bring you to my location. Be prepared for vampires. Avengers assemble. Captain America out. And then Cap is fighting. And then Hercules is there. Then the Kate Bishop Hawkeye is there. Love it, love it, love it. Quicksilver is back. Quicksilver has worked really well in the Uncanny Avengers. And Hazmat. And she's like, now I'm an Avenger. And this is Cap's lineup. And I wish this was a lineup in the regular book. I find it very interesting. It's a nice mix. Hercules is always good. These people don't have their own books. So you can play with them. And they're going to be battling Baron Blood, another great vampire. So I like that. So I went from absolutely hating the Avengers. I mean, I've read the Avengers since 105. I read it religiously. I play catch up, so I've read most of it. There are things I've missed. Some side mini-series and maxi-series in the last 20 years, but nothing major. This was I really disliked this a lot. I mean, like, Villa's issue in 14, the art is still, doesn't ring with me. Just doesn't ring with me. And you know, I got to let it absorb. Sometimes with artists, I have to kind of let it roll into me and then get over my prejudice toward it. But overall, it's good. Check it out. I know the first volume trades out. Probably the second arc will be coming out soon, which will be the Twilight. If you're getting them in trades, read them on the app. I know some of the Infinity scrolling comics tie into this. I wish I had started reading those earlier. And I just read the one that's leading into the new X-Men stuff, and I really liked it. Some of them are great. I like that scroll reading format because you're reading it panel by panel, but it's straight up and down. It's a neat way to tell a story, and it's just a new way too. So I just like it. But overall, I would check out Avengers now. I would recommend at least getting the trades, following it. And there's going to be a second book called Avengers Assemble, but Cap's going to form a team with this basic lineup. Yeah, it's Avengers Assemble. It's coming out September 2024. The basic lineup it's going to be written by Steve Orlando, who's been doing Scarlet Witch. I've been jumping in and out of that, and it's the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Really good. But the team will feature, I'm reading this from an article, Captain America, the Wasp, Clint Barton, Hawkeye, Hercules, She-Hulk, Photon, my Captain Marvel, the amazing Monica Rambeau, Night Thrasher, from New Warriors, who's back. I read it first issue. Is mini good. Check it out on the app. Lightning, yes, West Coast Lightning. I love that guy. Wonder Man, Shang-Chi, and Lightspeed, Julie Powers, the older of the Power Sisters. And basically, this is the Avengers Emergency Response Squad. First villain is going to be Red Skull's daughter. So this one, I'm looking forward to it. I like this lineup a lot. So I'm excited. But I'm also excited now for the next issue of the Blood Hunt thing and more of McKay's Avengers. And let's see where it goes. They announced an Aaron Omnibus, which is his Avenger. It's the final story arc, Assemble and the Omega. So they've done Heroes Reborn event, which is part of his run, but it's in none of those issues. None Avengers issues in this. So if they're going to collect that, I know it's come out in hardcovers. I have the issues, but I would like to get rid of floppy. So I may get the Aaron Omni. I haven't decided. So, but the trades are out. Maybe I'll do them in trades. I'm getting some things in trades now because they take less room. But it's something I do want to reread. And I am building and it's in the app too, so I could read it in the app. As I told I talked to Victoria, my best friend, that I'm building my retirement library. So the other thing I read, what was that? What could have been? What could have been so amazing that I needed to spend 20 minutes talking about one thing, but I still need to talk about another? I have read, over the last 6 days, the entire Annihilation event. I've had the complete collection, Volume 1 and 2, and I had read some of the stuff that's in Volume 1 when it came out, which was, so it looks like, in the Fandom Wiki, 2006. So this is basically a cosmic event. It takes some time, place after the Infinity Watch series, but it's basically Giffen. Hold on a second. In the first volume, it's Keith Giffen, Abnett and Lange, and Javier Grillo Martok taking the lead. And then the second volume, writing wise, and then I'll get artists when I go through it. So we have Simon Furman, Christos Gage, Stuart Moore, Keith Giffen, and then a handful of other writers for Fire, which is some text. So the structure of the series is better than any event ever in some way, where it's kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the first volume, you have Drax the Destroyer miniseries by Giffen and Mitch Breitweiser, with colors by Brian Reber, which is an absolute masterpiece. Drax is in a prison. He's been reborn. The prison is exploded by the first wave. It's crashed to Earth, and him, the Blood Brothers, Lunatic, and the Super Skrull are trapped in the city. But all Drax wants to do is get back into space so he can kill Thanos and avenge his dead daughter, Moon. And he meets this young girl named Cammy, and she ends up traveling with him. So that's like watching one feature film. Then you go into Nova, which is the second one. Next is an Alien Prologue, which is a one-shot. It's got some great art in it, some Scott Collins art, when we get to see Xandor wiped away. And then we get to the Nova series. So then we go into the Nova series, which is by Abnett Lange and Kev Walker, with inks by Rick Mayar and more Brian Reber. That's a masterpiece in and of itself, and it's another feature film. So we get to see how Richard Rider gets all of the Overmind. He gets his new, more modern costume, and him and Cammy and Drax are and they escape with the help of Quasar. And then we get Quasar dies in the battle. Annihilus sucks the energy from the quantum bands, killing him, and Annihilus ends up with the bands, which is cool, which ends up coming into play later. But that's a great mini. Then we get a Silver Surfer mini by Keith Giffen, Renata Arlem, with colors by June Chung. And then following that is a Super Skull story with Javier Grillo Marcoc and Greg Titus, with colors by Chris Stoudemire. So that was the first volume, and then the next volume has more stuff in it, and it basically runs like that. It's a series of 4-part miniseries telling you get further and further into the Annihilation. The Annihilation is this group of creatures from the Negative Zone led by a nihilist who wants to destroy. He wants to take over our universe. He has people like Thanos and other villains help. He turns Galactus into a weapon. Thanos dies, and then the whole universe becomes Annihilation, or the entire universe. So the second volume continues it. It's Annihilation Ronin by Simon Furman, Jorge Lucas, and Dave McKay. Brilliant. Then there's the Annihilation miniseries by Keith Giffen, Andrea DeVito, and Laura Villari. Again, great. We also have Star-Lord, but he's just called Peter Quill. The next event is Conquest. The modern Guardians will come out of that. Then we've got this great 4-story, giant-size Herald of the Galactus, because all of his heralds were in the series, and some of them I didn't know, because I haven't been reading a lot of this stuff. But it was Christos Gage, Giuseppe Comacoli, inked by Stefano Landini, with June Chung, which was another story by Stuart Moore, Mike McCone, Valerie Villari, Keith Giffen, Scott Collins, do a story called Afterburn. Brothers Keeper is Keith Giffen, Andrea DeVito, and Paul Moritz. And then there is, as in both trades, there were a lot of stuff that came out of the Nova. Probably it was a one-shot, and it has like basically the Nova Corps entries on all the characters and events and stuff like that. But I read this. I don't read a trade. I jump around because I'm jumping. I'll do 3 or 4 issues, and I'll move to another thing just so I'm getting a variety. I plowed through both of these in 5 days. I wish I'd read it sooner. I bought for reasonable price. I got both the deluxe hardcovers, which make up the complete Annihilation Conquest volumes 1 and 2. They look very nice on my shelf, and I can't wait to jump into them. But I'm going to read some other stuff first before I do. I am reading a lot of stuff. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. But I can't recommend Annihilation enough. go run out and get it. It's on the app. Read it, read it, read it. So I'm reading a lot of stuff. Now that I'm done with Annihilation Conquest, I finished the second Mighty Marvel Masterworks Captain America Volume 2, so I'm going to move on to Volume 3. It's cool. I've got just like 5 more issues of Tales of Suspense, and then the 4 or 5 issues of Captain America. And then I've got the epics that get me to where I left off, which is it gets the Omnibus 2. So I'm going to keep my Captain American read from the start. I need to read some more FF. I haven't done that, but I got some Starman to read because I'm going to be able to get an episode out on Tuesday because I was scheduled to do a Doctor Who podcast, but that's been postponed. I was going to guest. I'll tell you more about that later, but that got postponed. So I'm going to get the latest. I'm going to skip Shade miniseries. It's going to be a special episode with me and Dave Steele. We had to cancel last week because of my schedule, which is probably good for him. He'd been working his tail off, so that will be coming. And other than that, me and the big thing is going to be in the next couple months, we will be covering Showcase 100, me and Kirby, and we want to kind of make it pretty thorough because there's so many characters in it, and I want to kind of make that a special issue because it's such a special comic. It is for me and a lot of people my generation. So, folks, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a little rambling. I just wanted to get an episode out and tell you what I've been reading. I've been posting some of it, and I don't post for days on end because work is really a lot. It's really a lot. So I've just kind of found how I'm going to balance podcasting, how I'm going to podcast, making sure I get a Starman out regularly and I get a regular episode out regularly. Some weeks, Starman might be the weekend drop. So that's what it is. Please drop me a line. Let me know what you think. Let me get your take on some of these books, and I'll read them on the next episode. I'd love to hear it. Thank all the people who are being very supportive. I really appreciate it. I really do. So, hey, be safe, be smart, be kind to one another. It's a crazy mixed up world out there, and read some comics. Read Cosmic Marvel. Go back. They should do a Cosmic Marvel omnis that have events in them. It's so good to be back in that world, and I can't wait to read more.